Hey everyone, this is New York City Radio. I'm your host.
Radio.
Damn, I'm your host, Tom Seymour.
This is Dave Leute. Interrupted.
Oh man. So we have a very special interview for you today. It is many of your name your favorite bad movie. Dave.
It's easy. Samurai Cop.
Samurai Cop.
Well, I already knew who we were interviewing.
Yes. I should also add, Ken Powell is actually working on a film this week, so he will be out. One of my favorite bad movies, also Samurai Cop. And lo and behold, back from the dead, we have an interview with Mr. Matt Hannon, Samurai Cop himself.
Samurai Cop himself.
Yeah. This is pretty crazy. This is a surprise. If you talked to us last year, we'd say the odds of getting an interview with Matt Hannon would be zero. Because for all anyone knew, he was late.
As a doornail, they said.
Yeah. But in fact, it was a different Matt Hannon. We found out. Even poor Mark Fraser thought his poor partner in crime was under the weather. What? No, late.
Under the ground.
Pushing up daisies. Yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on the interview?
No, I just know what happens in the interview, and it's a must listen if you ask me.
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
A lot of shit revealed. A lot of inside information about what happened on that set. What made the film so wonderfully bad. I love that film.
Why don't we just get right into that?
Let's get right into it.
All right, here it is.
Hey, I'm Tom Seymour with New York City Radio. I'm here with Matt Hannon, a.k.a. the Samurai Cop, back from the dead. Welcome to New York City Radio. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate being here.
So the big thing is right now, the Kickstarter, you got a Kickstarter going for Samurai Cop 2, trying to raise $50,000, right?
I believe, yeah, that's what Greg had put the total at, just for some CGI or special effects. It's really not going towards the production. That money, I believe, is already secured.
Oh, nice.
This is more or less for the fans to get involved, I guess, and take a peek and see what they are comfortable pledging and doing. Because, like I said, this movie basically is being made for the fans. So it's, from anywhere from $10 to get a poster or a DVD signed, all the way up to anybody that's brave enough to want to come on set and do a scene with me. Or, I mean, those will probably be the trust fund babies. Like I've said, people they can afford the $10,000 executive producer credit. But
I mean, I think that stuff's kind of cool, actually. Yeah, I always said, these sort of like trust fund babies are these millionaires who want to get into the business. I'm like, this is like, the best time ever, because there's so many opportunities to buy an executive producer credit, and then
it's ridiculous.
I get 3 lines, or I get 2 lines, or 1 line. You
used to have to earn that. Now you just buy your way in, which is, I guess that's the way it is nowadays. But
yeah,
it's just funny to see that. Like I said in my newest YouTube post today, I said I would rather see 50,000 people at $1 each contribute, because that lets me know that there is somebody out there that's going to really want to watch this movie. Of course, I've been inundated with emails, and this has been around for so many years in Europe and in America. There's such a huge fan base. I just look at the Kickstarter thing and I see only 88 people so far. What the hell? I mean, the money's there and that's great, and Greg's happy, but I'm looking, I need more people. I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time getting up at 2:30 in the morning and staying in shape, and
Absolutely.
Someone's going to come watch this thing when we're done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's get the word out there for sure. So, we'll post the link to this on the show, but people can go to Kickstarter and look up Samurai Cop 2. You got an awesome video out there. You have all sorts of stuff, like different levels and whatnot. But
and then even I think he kind of breaks down some of the people that have already been cast in this. This is almost picking up like that Sharknado 2, where it's got that frenzy of people wanting to be in this absolutely ridiculous sequel to a movie that was, hilarious in its own right in the first, like Sharknado was, and this is Samurai Cop. Just a lot of people are just, every day that I talk with Greg, there's just new and more people, more and more people coming on board. Famous people want to do cameos, and it's just amazing to me to see all this transpiring from where I was doing, 3 months ago.
I don't. It's probably a few years ago that I came across this clip of the infamous horny nurse scene from Samurai Cop, and which I just thought it was the most hilarious thing. And
Amir's brilliant writing there. I did not ad-lib anything. That was verbatim. Amir wrote that in the script, and I was like, really, we got to do this? But that's been one of the famous, the hardest one for me to watch, because I knew it was going to end up being ridiculous. But people are just so transfixed on how ridiculous that dialogue is.
Well, I was talking to, Mark Fraser, and he was saying that, you guys were just shooting so quick and moving so quick that, there may not have been a time where you guys were like really examining how ridiculous
how
some
good
of this
the
stuff
take was.
Yeah. But like
Absolutely.
when you were on the set, were there points where you're like, holy shit, man, this is going to end up being funny when it's not supposed to be, or was there?
Yeah, and then Mark touched base on that, and I quickly want to make point too, because I did hear Mark's interview that he did with you. I think it was October of 2013.
Yeah, yep.
And I told Mark recently, because we've been talking back and forth, I said, dude, I have heard recordings from Apollo 1 to Mission Control that had better reception than whatever goddamn cell phone you were on talking to. I was like, no, Tom, happy to be here. It was just totally overmodulated. And I was like, oh, my God. I said, hopefully today with your fans, my mind's a little clearer. But Mark and I, every day, we would come to the set, and especially as it drew out into the 9th month, when it was basically just him, myself, Peter Pallion, the cinematographer, and Amir, just every day showing up going, dude, I can't believe this is going on. And we were at the wig point by then, but even in the very, very beginning, from day one when I started, I really thought Amir was going to work with me as far as my suggestions of making the script a little bit more Americana, not so Iranian in some of the dialogue, or like I've stated, Amir had the Old West kind of dialogue of the shoot 'em and stop. A lot of what we said, like, every line I said in the car of shoot 'em, and it was Amir saying, do it again. He'd be in the back seat, crouched down, hiding. And I thought that he would not be letting them go one right after another on the film. I thought he would cut them in, or
you use one of them or whatever. Yeah.
And so that's what me and Mark thought every day coming in, that maybe he's going to clean this up later, even though it sounds corny now. Maybe it'll sound better later. And how wrong we were! It was that's exactly what we got, was what we said. So terrible, just terrible.
I've examined some of these. They call them best worst movies. Because they're so fucking enjoyable to watch, and there so many times there's a language barrier. Tommy Wiseau with The Room, wherever he's from. The director of Troll 2 was an Italian director, massive language barrier. So I think a lot of these some of the magic ingredient involves a director
Absolutely.
without a perfect grasp of maybe American dialogue.
Yeah, the translation was lost, or it was not funny the way that he thought it was, or didn't have that same. Absolutely, that was exactly what was going on there, because of that one line that we argued the most about over in my monologue, where I said, now I'm telling these son of a bitches. And I said, and he wrote it, that was exactly like in the script, and I said, Amir, they spelt it. I go, you have to say it differently. You have to tell, I either say like, I'm telling these sons of bitches.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't sound good. You will say, I'm telling these son of a bitches. And I say, I know, but it's wrong. Just say it the way I wrote it. That kind of argument every day. But those were those phrases that you would try to explain, and he would just not want to do it. And that's why you see sometimes in my monologues, when I did that over and over at different locations, or standing in a closet, which most people have noted, it doesn't really look like you were in front of anybody. It looked like you were in a room. And it was Amir's office, and I'm literally, like I've said before, talking to either a lamp or a chair or a desk. Because it was just me and Mark with Amir doing these pickup shots that he apparently either damaged the film. I think in that respect, because that monologue scene that I give in the restaurant, I don't remember shooting the reverse angle, so I maybe we thought we were going to do it later, come back to that same restaurant at another day. We just never did.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of those scenes that you see, and a lot of every, like, dubbed voice is Amir. A lot of people have made reference to, man, there's so many weird dubbed voices, and who is it? It was just Amir, because he'd be the only guy who could afford to go to the studio and put
is that all the
voices in.
Is that all the voices where you hear a guy go, hey, wait a minute, and then he'd be like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. And then Amir, when the guy was on fire, he's, I'm burning, ah! That's all Amir. I mean, I know that, and I talk about that in the Blu-ray that's coming out that Greg's releasing here. I think it's September 30th, and I did a full-length movie commentary. And I break it down scene by scene as we go along, and that was one of the fun things. I'm glad that we were able to do that, and that's coming out on Amazon too. But that's going to be for the fans because no one really heard, frame by frame as a commentary. I know Joe Bob Briggs did his version, but that's from a point of view comical. Mine's more letting people know, let me tell you what happened that day, and let me tell you what happened in this scene.
Oh, man,
so
I'm going to buy that.
I was pointing out every voice that Amir was doing. He was doing, I think he did that one, in no way do we go under Fujiyama. I mean, just in the very beginning of the movie, almost the very first scene when they fight with that older gentleman's gang. Yeah. That's all Amir, screaming and yelling, yeah. Well, some of that is Gerald Akamura's screams from our fight scenes that Amir just used him there too.
I remember that. Yeah, it was his voice and then put in the beginning. I totally thought that was true. See, I'm going to buy this Blu-ray. So when is it coming out? It's coming out soon?
I think, Greg told me it's coming out September 30th, exclusively on Amazon right now, and then I don't know where it goes, if it's going to Redbox or stuff after. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't get into all that production stuff, but he did tell me that I wanted to see it too. There's full commentary on there from me, plus an interview, and then Mark Frazier also did a full commentary plus interview. So it's pretty jam-packed, and that's kind of what people were waiting for. I know we had Robert Zadar on a couple versions, and Peter Pallion, but it's finally from the horse's mouth, and I'm surprised that Mark didn't remember a lot of... There's the scene, which I reference, the Walt Disney guy that I'm looking at the video footage with my wig tucked up in a hat.
Yes.
That, when the old man speaks, he puts his head up and goes, "Did you have somebody coming to see you?" And that was Mark Frazier doing that voice. And Mark didn't remember it. He goes, "No, man, that ain't me." I said, "Mark, I'm telling you, that was you." And he said, No. That should. So now he remembers, but I don't blame him because there were so many days that we went in and did stupid things that was just like a blur towards the end. We were so mentally drained from. Especially when I came back 3 months later after Amir said, "We're done filming," and I'd cut my hair, and then it was go get the wig, and then I remember the first day showing up, me and Mark's like, "What the hell happened?" But then, like I said, towards the end of the movie, it was just me and the wig and Mark. So,
well, during that scene, when the guys from New York are coming to get you,
yes,
there is this is how nerdy I am. There is a calendar on the wall. And the year on it is 1991.
Yeah, January of 91. And you're one of the other ones. I picked that up a long time ago, and I'm surprised nobody else did. But that was because I kept seeing that they kept thinking the release date was 89. And I go, well, if you guys really pay attention,
right? Yeah,
you'll see.
So,
that's when we came back because we finished with Amir in August. And then I think I cut my hair end of August. And then September, October, November, nothing really going on. December, Amir calls. "I need to see you. Could you come to the office?" I show up with my hair short as hell, and he just flipped out. And, "Oh, my God, what have you fucking..." I go, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "We still have more..." I said, "You were kidding. You told me we were through."
Oh, man.
And at that time, I felt, oh, God, I don't want to be an ass. I'll finish the film for him. And I thought, really, it was just going to be a couple long shots, maybe now close, so you couldn't tell it was a wig. Because it was the worst wig ever, I thought. But it didn't look... It looked like my hair more now today than it did then, which was more feathered cut of the 80s look there.
So was it technically shot mostly in 1990 then? And then
June of 90 was when we started. I met Amir right in the last couple of weeks of May. Right away he said, "Okay, I want to hire you." And then I had the script for about a week or so, and then we started June of 90, and he said it would take about 3 weeks. And it literally was 3 months, meaning that we would come in for 4 or 5 days, maybe a day off, then come back for 1 day, then come back for 2 or 3. So it was spaced out. It wasn't every single day. And I think it was all that Amir gathering money to develop what he had shot, and then he would look and see what he had shot, screening dailies, and then he would go back out and stay to the script. He tried to stay, again, of all his 4 movies, we were the lowest budget. And I think if you look at some of his past work, Killing American Style, Gypsy, and Hollywood Cop, pretty well done films for what they were, and obviously bigger budgets. And I was amazed that I had such in the film that we did, I think we want to say $50,000 maybe.
Oh, really? Wow.
But
wow,
for
that's
what
pretty
Amir
impressive.
pulled off for 50 grand was pretty also, that was amazing.
What was the format? 35 or Super 16?
Yeah, 35 millimeter.
Wow, for 50 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think a lot of the money went towards film, and as you see in the movie, we did never, very rarely, I can't remember ever doing 2 takes. It was always 1 take.
Wow.
And because he did not have the money to just keep trying to get it right.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So, we had Mark Fraser on. I believe back then he had thought that you had passed on, right?
Yeah.
How did that go down? What happened with that? How did that rumor get started? Or
I don't know. I remember, like I said, I would check in every once in a while to either YouTube or IMDb just to see what the comments were, because I really enjoyed reading, the comments that this guy Matt Hannon looks like Stallone with Down syndrome, or I just thought they were hilarious because they were so accurate. And the comments they would make on scenes, and then I did see something. Tragically, Matt Hannon died, and I thought, wow, this is great. Maybe this will really go away. And again, it's from my point of view as an actor, and if so much time's passed now, almost a quarter century, it's not that big of a deal. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, it's so horrible. But I kind of let it go that that I had passed away, and Mark, and we've had some discussions since then because, as you know, about a year ago, they were talking about maybe doing the sequel, Samurai Cop 2.
Well,
and he was the only living surviving member at that point. Robert Zadar was still around, but maybe ill. Obviously, I wasn't around, so they were trying to come up with an idea to do a sequel. And then all of a sudden, here I come after I post the YouTube video here back in June, and I had some meetings with Greg, and I said, hey, give me Mark's number. I haven't been in touch with him in so long. Let me call him. It would be fun to talk to him. And the first conversation we had, the first words out of Mark's mouth weren't, Matt, it's so glad to hear you're alive. It's like, man, you fucked up my comeback. I was going to be the star of Samurai Cop. And I felt bad because that was never my intention. And I understand, what am I going to do now? You're the Samurai Cop. Of course, but it is a buddy cop movie.
It's
not
gonna be
about,
big,
I understand that I am Samurai Cop, but it's us together, the chemistry.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to
the
be bigger
fact
than
that
ever.
We both still really almost look the same as we did back then, a little older, but that's what's so funny to look at. It's like a time machine. So I think that's what the fans, I hope, enjoy, is just seeing us together again in another situation, now current day in 2015, 24 years later.
Well, yeah, cool, because I think, being a fan of the film, I think your IMDb page had you dead, at a certain point.
Yeah.
And
I don't know who controls that either. I don't know who. I did get a couple emails from some people that apologized, saying that they were the ones that were responsible for starting that rumor and how they had traveled to Ohio, literally looking for the grave of Matt Hannon, trying to track down his brothers and family members. Just really odd. I didn't realize people would go to that, but they were really wanting to make sure that the right Matt Hannon was dead. I think that guy was 58.
Oh, wow.
He was probably 6 years older than I, but something about his credits that he was in a movie, and they just assumed that's got to be him. But
no shit.
I have seen photos of the guy's yearbook picture, and it in no way, shape, or form resembles me. So I don't know why, forensic-wise, these fans out there couldn't go, that's not Matt, for God's sake. But it just was what it was, and I wished well to that family. I'm not trying to be, negative about mocking their son being mistaken for me, but it's crazy to the degree everyone's like, until we know for sure, and then I guess it really did sink in, and everybody thought I had passed away.
Well, it's like fucking awesome. Hey, I'm glad you're alive.
I know. Thank you. Like I said, it's almost like Tom Hanks coming back from Castaway after 4 years. Everyone's like, and what a weird thing to experience, because I listen to everyone's interviews, and even yours and Mark's, and you speak about, I wish I could have met the guy, and what a great this or that. And it was so sweet to hear my epitaph, but he's still alive.
Well,
so I'm hoping that now the second real death that I have in many, many years from now, that would be just as loving and
well, apparently other actors like Jeff Goldblum, it's something like once every 10 years, people post an article of how he died. You know what I mean? So maybe you could have multiple, but no, for me, it's just, it was like when I saw that video of you, I was like, oh, the first thing I thought is, now they could do Samurai Cop 2.
Yeah, and I made that joke in the video.
Yeah.
I was kidding, and that's what Greg's incorporated in that Kickstarter video was, I guess I look the same, so if anybody wants to do Samurai Cop 2, and I've been saying be careful what you wish for, because here we are ready to shoot in November, and it's like, wow, it's the quickest greenlit film I can remember or even be involved. Of course, I haven't done anything for 24 years, but it's just funny to see it get wanted, and then just the momentum so fast, the money poured in, and everybody was wanting to get attached to it, and it's just become, so fun to be involved with. I'm just wondering, I don't know if we're going to get it out there quick enough.
Right. Well, I think it's very similar to sort of like Troll 2, where people will, I went to a midnight screening. I don't know if it was last year. And it was fantastic. So hopefully, it'll just sustain, I think.
With the crowds. I heard that they did. I don't know. I guess it traveled about a year ago. Greg took it on a tour around the United States, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, New York, and just everywhere he went, it was sold out, and people just really loved it. And again, that's why I felt bad on that very first post I did on YouTube when I made the comment, this stupid fucking film from a long time ago. It's almost insulting to the fans by me saying that. And again, I was coming and I've apologized since. That's from an actor's point of view and his ego. Now that I've been exposed to everything, I really do see what everybody else has seen, and I'm not taking it as serious as I did then. And maybe the time that has passed has made that a little easier for me to swallow. And then being able now, what I'm considering the redemption of, all right, great, now maybe in Samurai Cop 2 I can redeem now with a great script and good dialogue and years of experience in my life under my belt, not so much schooling and acting, but being what I've gone through in my life. I'm quite sure I can bring something to the performance I'm hoping that would be worthy of the sequel.
Well, I've talked to a lot of, I've talked to people who acted in that movie The Room, and that's another one that's really celebrated for a lot of the comedy that wasn't intended. And a lot of those performers just at first, they really didn't like the film. Because it's hard. It must be really hard to wrap your head around. You're like, fuck, I'm in this movie and the dialogue, it's, but I mean, I imagine with every actor, there's a sort of a mental process you have to go through, right? Like, to say, oh, well, okay, it's a bad movie, but everyone loves it, so.
And what I did it for, and basically Mark did also back then in the 80s, everybody was talking about trying to build a reel and get tape, so I kept saying, all right, first of all, I'm so thankful that Amir even gave me that starring role. I mean, I'm in basically the whole film, so I thought maybe I'll be able to pick and choose some scenes and use them. If I'm going to play this action thing, then maybe I can take some of the fight scene stuff out. Certain little scenes that I do with Jennifer, remember when she's being held hostage in Fujiyama's house with the statue on the piano and that's framed.
Yep.
That's kind of a good scene there. Mark and I coming out from behind the car through the smoke after it's been bombarded with paintballs and Roman candles for special effects.
Yeah.
That scene is kind of good where, it's a nice shot. I'm focused pretty well. Mark and I walked through it. So I thought, okay, I can use that. Mm-hmm. But that was basically, and I knew as a whole, oh man, this is terrible. And I don't think Amir really got it very far past those film marks. He did try to sell it at the AFM to a couple, Germany and some other, but I don't ever remember us having a premiere or it coming out on video. I had to just really hunt down Amir for a while to finally get a VHS copy that this even had the time code on it, and that's what I basically had to use to pick and edit pieces off. I took pieces off of that, couple pieces off American Revenge, and then some off of Jag later when I got that footage too from the television series.
Well, these movies are so rare, and I always call them cinematic unicorns because they come along. They're just so rare. And
lightning in a bottle, or
and they're wonderful. Like, people get so much joy out of these things. So I think they're awesome. And
again, I think that's to Amir, not so much to us in it. Of course, we were the decorations of his vision there, but it was really Amir's magic, and that's why I said that we still do have to give some homage to. And he's passed since. Obviously, but it is his. It's his script. It's the way he wanted it shot. A lot of my dialogue, I was told to speak in certain manners. He would tell me exactly how, talk low or talk like Stallone, or he would have us at some of the scenes without the body mics because he couldn't afford them. He'd have us yelling at a louder tone like this when I'm supposed to be whispering. Here's how I'm whispering, and it sounds horrible like an actor. And I'm like, Amir, this is not how just do it. We cannot hear you, so you must be louder. So all those magical moments, whether it's 80% my horrible acting or the other 20, the way Amir edited it or gave me instruction, or the dialogue that was spewing from my mouth, which was verbatim him, except for a couple improvised scenes. Most of that was Amir, and I'm not proud of some of the improvised scenes either, but the chicken dinner that we talked about, Janice and I made that up, where I talk about catching a chicken jumping over the fence.
Yeah.
That was made up, and then there's a couple other scenes which we talk about in the Blu-ray that Mark and I came up with, Butcher. Yeah. But, other than that, that's Amir. And if you look at any of his films just before mine, there was the line of "Keep It Warm." That was used in American Young Rebel, or what was it called?
Killing American Style? Or
Killing American Style, yeah.
Or Hollywood Cop?
And a lot of the same locations that he used in that movie, we used in ours. So it's like that restaurant that we used was also the entrance to that, where, in the beginning of Killing American Style, the mobsters are all hanging out in the bar or restaurant. That's that same restaurant, just a different angle, different point of view.
So I actually wanted to ask I think it's on, is it on IMDb? I know that it said something about how you had actually been a bodyguard for Stallone back in the day, or
yes, yeah.
What was that like? I mean, is that kind of how you got started? Was that have you always been involved in acting and I mean, how did that come to be?
The actual meeting of Sly was me. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and then moved to California in 1987. At that time, I was 270 pounds, just a big, like a WWF or linebacker. Not a sloppy, but just a big, giant, husky, strong kid, 23 years old, benching over 400 pounds,
Holy
clean,
cow.
no drugs, no steroids.
Wow.
And I came to California in the way that I was going to work while I pursued a career in trying to be a comedic actor, not an action guy. Was security jobs. I'd worked as a bouncer, and I had training in, various parts of different martial arts: judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido, boxing, wrestling, which is kind of what MMA is today. Mm-hmm. I did then, because it was more or less, when you're a bodyguard or security, you don't have time to be beautiful and elegant. You just do your job. You incapacitate a attacker, or you take control of the situation, real quickly. But me hunting down the gym that Sly worked out at was more or less as a fan of his, and admired him from childhood, from Rocky, right, to say, I'm going to go to the gym where, Sly works out. I never dreamed of ever working for him, but once I got to the gym and had met his bodyguards, and Sly had been comfortable seeing me, I was the biggest guy in the gym, obviously, and we just got to talking, and thankfully I had an inside connection with Sly's, one of his top bodyguards knew a friend of mine from Oregon, and he was actually a relative of, and that opened up the door for that guy to trust that I wasn't a stalker. And then I had other mutual acquaintances in town that did security jobs, and it just actually worked out where Sly was looking for new talent, didn't want to keep using the off-duty police officers, and that's being at the right place at the right time, which is what Hollywood is all about. And for me to get there, it was great for me because it was a really well-paying job. I mean, back then we were making, take $1,100-$1,200 a week, which back in '89, that's a ton of money.
That's good. Yeah.
And you're living in the house, hanging out with the biggest superstar, movie guy in the world. So as an actor, what a thrill to be around those sets during, he had just come back from Rambo 3, then we went right into Lockup, then we went into Tango and Cash, and then, of course, the downers, Oscar, Stop for My Marvelous Feud. We went through those movies, too. But
so you're there the whole time? You're
as
there?
An actor, having the ability to really see a very, very high-level budgeted movie, and, that's what you would want to aspire to as an actor, instead of the opposite of that is doing a low-budget film with, people like Amir, because you got to pay your dues and so on and so forth. So,
yeah.
But yeah, that coincidence to work with Sly was unbelievable, and what a honor and pleasure it was to do that.
Wow. So, but you were on this. So when you were on board with Stallone, you were there. Like, so if, it was like a 4-month shoot. You were there the whole time, or?
Yeah, when I first came on, like I said, I think it was April of '88. My very first day of working was the day that Sly had taped his Barbara Walters special, which is right after he came back for Rambo 3. They were been in Israel, so.
Oh wow.
It was probably 2-3 years total I was with Sly, and that ran the gamut of all those films, at least 6 or 7. I think I left right about pre-production of Rocky 5, where Sage, his son, was there.
Yep.
And that's about when I left. So it was right there, and Sly had always talked about in Hollywood there's peaks and valleys, and I think his career personally peaked right about Rocky 4, Rambo 2.
Yeah.
Then he went into 3, it was like, and then we went with those real wild choices that he had made with the Stopper My Mom or Shoot. And I think Sly was trying to say, look, I can do more, I'm funny, and he is an absolutely witty, great, personable guy. It just wasn't translating in those films as far as Oscar, Stopper My Mom will Shoot, like I said. But Lockup, they were away for 3 or 4 months at Rahway State Prison. I didn't go. I stayed back here and was in charge of his properties in Beverly Hills and Malibu. There was another team of bodyguards that watched the properties. And primarily that's where I was for most of the time there. Every day I came to work at 3 o'clock. Wherever Sly was, I would go there and meet him and meet the main principal bodyguards, Boyle Gorick, Gary Compton, and Mike DeLuca, who was from New York, great guy who's recently passed, Golden Gloves boxer from New York. But those guys I considered the bodyguards from when I was there during that area. Sly had a plethora of guards that would come through in and out, guards like cops that just didn't want to be there to pick up dog shit, or they thought, I'm here, I'm better than I don't need, I'll be late when I feel like coming. And you really can't do that when you're catering to a celebrity at that level. Sly expects certain demeanor and mannerisms. And so, me coming in there and working during that time was just, like I said, a gift and good money. And then I just eventually said, you know what, I think I want to go out, Sly, on my own and try and see what I can do as an actor or a comedian and appreciate everything. And, of course, I had the dramatic weight loss and really got in shape, and I basically turned myself into a leading man at 6'3". I no longer was the big, giant, burly character actor. Now I had that long hair and all, the Jeff Speakman, that time period. Those were the action stars there. So
I love Jeff Speakman. Jeff Speakman rules.
Yeah, Joe Lara was a great friend of mine. He worked out in George's gym also, that Santa Monica Bodybuilding Center. And Joe's a fantastic actor too. I'm surprised he didn't go. But both of us had that long, flowing hair and that look. But Joe was obviously a much more handsome guy than I, but it was just funny, all those guys back then, that's what we all looked like, we were just the denim and the tank tops and tucking the shirts in. And that was
what everyone did.
Even the bikinis, that's what guys wore. If you had a physique and you thought you were hot shit, you were at a beach. I guess I wouldn't probably ever wear that in public in Malibu or somewhere here. I did wear that on my honeymoon in Hawaii, but when Amir said, Matt, I need you to wear something revealing for the bikini, and I said, oh, so that's where we came. I don't know if those were posing trunks or where I got those. They might have been a bathing suit. Yeah. But he wanted it to be just as skimpy as Janice, Jennifer, my character, love interest in the movie. So, the scenes we did on the rocks and everything and in bed, it was all this ridiculous nakedness. But at least I didn't have a pot belly. At least I said, all right, at least I'm somewhat in shape. I guess this worked.
So what made you want to when you posted that video? Was it kind of dual intention? Was there a thought in your head where you're like, screw it, I want to start acting again, or did you catch the bug again? And
no,
what changed?
Because I really gave up on that, and I've said this before. I became, as an actor, too self-aware. I was into how I looked, and I was very narcissistic and vain in my own personal thing, and I just thought, I don't think I have what it takes to be what is considered an actor. And I want to break that into two things. There are the Pacinos, there are the De Niros, that type of an actor, or Tom Hanks, like at the end of the last Captain Phillips movie. I don't know if you see those, when he's finally rescued. If you watch him, that is such brilliant acting in that traumatized state that he's in. That's acting. That's what I consider acting, okay? Yeah. Also, you have Tool Time, Roseanne, Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld. They're considered actors, but they're really just being themselves, and they're on screen. Yeah. So I can do that, and that's why I gravitated towards stand-up comedy, because a stand-up comedian, I'm not putting on any show. I'm being you. I'm me, raw. I'm not trying to be anybody. That's what I felt I did best. So I kind of left behind. And then as the years went by, I mean, this sequel's about 15 years too late. I would have been better if I was 35. I'm 50 now, but
yeah.
But I posted that video for my daughter, who kept badgering me, Dad, just please post something and let them know you're alive. It's not a big deal. And I kept saying, no, I don't want to be involved. And so I set the camera up in my kitchen one day, and I had my shorts on and my shirt off like a douchebag. And I taped it, and then I sent it to her saying, hey, Courtney, if I do something, is this what you want me to say? And the minute she got a hold of that, she uploaded it onto my YouTube, because she set it up for me years ago. I didn't know the passwords. Yeah. So then all of a sudden she calls me and goes, Dad, I put it up on YouTube. I said, what are you talking about? I put the video there. I said, are you? And I just flipped out. But then it was within an hour, 2 hours, the thing just went bananas. My emails were just going off on my cell phone, because I guess it's connected to your email account when somebody posts to your, I don't know. I mean, this is all new technology to me. So it was almost by error and a blessing, I guess, that it happened that way. Of course, my daughter being in her last year of film school, she loves this to death.
Awesome.
It's almost like, because she'd seen that movie when she was 14, and I was like, don't show this to your friends. And I don't even want you looking at it with me and Melissa naked and me in these long, drawn-out love scenes, which are so fucking embarrassing. But Amir just loved that coverage, and I thought he was going to cut. No, I mean, those things went way too long. But anyway. So it was accidental that even came out. But then again, in life, you never know when opportunities are going to come out. I never would have thought in a million years this may be a way to, if I feel like rejuvenate or getting back into acting. At this point, it's in the hands of the fans. We'll see what happens with Samurai Cop 2. If people think that that's worthy of you wanting to see me do other things and it was a good performance, I'm quite sure I would never have chosen to do an action movie like this, but obviously I have to because it's a sequel. Yeah. But I would gravitate more towards thrillers, capers, things on the genres of the score, any type of heist kind of movies, those things. That's what I enjoy, because there's not a lot of dialogue. Anything like a Bourne Identity type of film, I like that stuff.
Right. Where you can
do action, I've really stayed away from, only because of that. Back in the day, the Stallone comparisons. I didn't want to be an action guy. I mean, I wasn't trying to be. I really thought I was going to be the big muscular John Candy when I came out here, and then it just manifested into what it did become, which was getting in shape and the long hair, and then now you've typecast yourself as a. And that's why I said me, Joe Lara, Darren, the guy from American Gladiator, all had that same look. We were all out in the same auditions.
Well, let me ask you this: if is there anything that you need people to know about you? You know what I mean?
As of now, today, after the interviews that I've done, no. I think that was kind of the reason I was so open and honest in some of the ones that I've done, because I don't want anybody else coming in thinking that they got one up on me and I tried to hide something. I'm not embarrassed from my past. I don't think they were the wisest choices that ended me off in jail and prison, but that's a kid in his 20s and 30s that's arrogant, thinks he's got the world on a string, and that's life lessons that I think most people out there have gone through. Mine's magnified because of the movie, and I'm thrown out there in front of everybody. But I don't think there's anything that I've held back and not talked about. I mean, some people have asked why I didn't continue acting, and again, I've kind of touched base on that. Yeah. Plus the fact that here in Hollywood, it's a lot different, and Mark Frazier has touched base on that. In New York, most of your auditions and acting, it's there in Manhattan. It's very tight. Here in L.A., you got to be driving all over the place back then and wasting gas. I likened it to scratcher lottery tickets. You never know. You just go, and the more you go, maybe you'll get a break. And I just felt, you know what, there's got to be another way to get into this business, and I don't think it's from the front door. I think we got to find a way around, and that's why I tried to really sit back and try to make connections with the Chuck and Larry Gordons, the Joel Silvers, people that I knew from Sly, use them as to get on the lot, to come in when I heard they were maybe producing a film and say, hey, it's me. And they're, oh, that's right, you're Matt the Bodyguard. It's like, well, yeah, but I was really an actor, but I did that. So then that became even hard to get a way in. And I just felt, I don't think it's going to work here trying it like everybody else. And then you just get caught up in my firstborn, and you got to go to work, and you got to make a living, and you got to survive. And then the acting thing just slowly, because I literally really never gave acting a shot as far as auditioning, maybe a couple after Samurai Cop, because I left Fly, went right into American Revenge in November. Yep. About 5 months later, now I'm with Amir for Samurai Cop, and then nothing. then little dark times in my life, I go off and do that, come back, and then I did JAG.
Yep.
I got my SAG card through that TV pilot JAG, and then after that, it was just, you're just worried about paying the bills, and I just, had a lot of ups and downs financially and just never had the time to get out there and dress the dress, walk the walk, drive the right car, meet the right people, go to the right parties, because I don't club, I don't go out drinking.
Yeah.
It's a networking business out here, and it's very, very hard unless you're, like we spoke about before, a trust fund baby that you don't have to go anywhere except get up every day and just go to auditions. Big deal. And if you don't get the part, who cares? You got a $60 million trust fund. You're living,
Yeah. I mean, I only, only asked that question because it's like, I feel like I'm very similar. I have a day job. I work at a college. I make movies like in the summer. And, it's, I did these bikini bloodbath movies, and they're not what I want to be known for, So it's like, I kind of wish people knew I did other shit. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why I brought the question up. Like, is there some people, just didn't know about you? But I mean, I think that.
I think the stand-up was probably a lot of people didn't think that of me. And again, I had met Andrew Dice Clay from working with Sly, and then he and I used to train in the same gym with the same trainer, George Topasic, and we struck up a friendship. And I was out hitting the open mic nights and doing the comedy store, but the same scenario there. I didn't want to go waste my material at 2 a.m. in the morning for 4 people. I said, let me come in at 9 o'clock in a full house in the main room at Comedy Store with 300 people. If I suck, I'll give you $5,000. If I do well, then from now on, you give me this fucking time and let me build a career. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want my material stolen by other comics, which is very rampant in that business.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew was very, very giving, and we had different comedy styles. Mine's more point of view, Cosby, Seinfeld-esque. His is very raw, in your face. Yep. And when I would go to the Comedy Store with him, oh, what a difference. Oh, the club manager, oh, Matt, can I get you something to drink? And come back here, just that ass-kissing bullshit I wasn't into.
Right.
I was like, dude, just let me go up to bat and let me hit the triple or home run. If I suck, I'm not coming back, but I know I don't suck because I've been in front of audiences and they've enjoyed what I've done. Everything in my life that I do, whether it's physical fitness, diet, everything, it's well thought out. And I don't present it until I know it's good. I'm also probably one of the few comics that never repeats a performance, which pissed off other comics because, I don't know, and I'm not trying to be braggadocious. That's just my style. I hated going every week and seeing the guy do the same fucking routine. I know it's a different audience, but I'm going there to perform for other comedians to say, look, just like an apprentice, I can do what you guys do. You're all journeymen, but, hey, and there wasn't really anybody out there like me. So I enjoyed being in that spotlight. Andrew was also the only guy to date that gave me a shot on his TV show that he had years ago, Bless This House, on CBS.
Oh, wow.
He actually had me come in. He thought it would be funny to have my character. Don Stark originally got the second lead. It went to him, who ended up, later on that 70s show. He came in. It was between him and I, and I was in reading for Head of Networks with Kathy Moriarty and Andrew. I came in and read, and I'm reading with some casting guy who was giving me nothing. And Andrew's like, hey, okay, let me read with him. I mean, that's unheard of, but that's the kind of classy guy he was. He wanted to say, Matt, let me get you in front of whoever and we'll give it a shot. Because even if I didn't get that part, you're getting in front of some of these big power brokers that can have that make or break decision. Remember that guy that came in with Andrew, the tall guy? He wasn't right for what we were looking for, but he may be good for this. Those are those opportunities and breaks that very few people in this town, because of their egos, they don't, you don't teach a bird to peck your eyes out. And I don't think Andrew had that ego of, he knew I was funny, but Andrew was a legend in comedy, just like Stallone was a legend in movies. People said, why didn't he ever give you a shot or give, and that's just not what Sly would have done. Sly would have given me the second, third, and fourth break, but he never would have done the first because he wanted me to have that moment of, you did it, on your own without me being connected to you, because he always knew the resemblance, especially back then with him and I, was so close. He said, you will get a lot of work because you look like me in B-rate movies, but it's the kiss of death. If you think you're going to do a mainstream movie action hero, you're dead. You're the Stallone clone and you're toast. So, and that was true because Sly knew I had skills and ability in comedy. I used to crack him up in the whole office. There's a whole ton of characters that hung around us, and I had a great knack of imitating. And so he knew the talent was there. And he knew when I said, look, I appreciate everything, the opportunities you gave me, but it is time for me to move on. I'm not going to ever achieve what you did, but I want to see what I can get. So
Yeah.
I think in those respects, most people didn't know the stand-up comedy was something that I've been doing for so many years here.
So, are you continuing that, or?
No, I got to the point again where I thought, you know what, I'm at the point now, and that's where you've seen the name Brian Machiavelli that I've used on my web addresses. Brian Machiavelli was a character that I developed because at age 40, 49, 50, when I came up with this, when I went up in front of the audience, I had an hour long, basically what I considered a special. But when you come up there at that age, I came up with the story that this character, Brian Machiavelli, had just recently paroled from California State Prison after 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Meaning that would explain to them, well, where's this guy been? He's good, but why haven't we seen him? Did he suck or why? So I gave them a backstory immediately that I came from prison, and then I take them on that journey of what it was like to be in prison. Then I talk about my past, working with Sly, do my imitations. So it was kind of a tailor-made thing for me where I basically said, I'm going to put together an HBO or a Showtime or a Comedy Central special.
Yeah.
And then if I can finance it and tape it, then I will take it out. I don't need to solicit someone to say, hey, am I good enough to get a special? I'm going to say, I've already got it. Here it is. They'll watch it. They'll say, oh, man, this is great, because I had the whole intro of a scene paroling from a big Gothic prison, and then right to the stage, and then a whole beginning, middle, and end. So it was a whole package deal, but I just never either had the right people to help me finance to do that, or I got busy doing the job that I'm working with now. And it just becomes you don't have that drive anymore. And I just still will pop in every once in a while to the Laugh Factory here in town or Comedy Store Improv on open mic nights and just get up on stage and just, it's almost like to say, you know, I'm still here and I still kick ass. And they're all just like, well, where are you going? And I just walk right out and I don't come back again for 3 months, 6 months, because I'm not a comedian in that respect where you make a living doing it. I just want to come up and say, I can still do it. And I got it. And if anybody ever wants to see it, I guess, and if I get out of my own way, maybe I'll do that. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome. I always had a lot of respect for people who could get up there and do that. I mean, because it's just so tough. You ever think about just playing a 1 minute clip of Samurai Cop highlights before you jumped on stage?
Well, now, if I do it, now with all the personal appearances, like I've got one coming up here in Seattle this weekend at the Seattle International Film Festival. They're having a B-rate bingo night, I guess, on Saturday at 9:30 at night. But they asked me if I would come and, introduce the film and maybe do some stand-up, and then after the film do a little Q&A. And then that opens it up where, of course, now that's a whole different audience, and you got to forget the Brian Machiavelli shit, and now it's Samurai Cop oriented, and then
right.
mix some stories that, you know what I mean? So it changes the dynamic, something I never thought. But now I could probably get on YouTube and say, hey guys, I'm going to be down at the Laugh Factory tomorrow night, come on down. And now there's kind of a built-in audience.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to have to reference Samurai Cop. So that's what's funny.
Oh, that's so cool, though.
Because I never normally would have ever brought that up. Nobody ever, my name now is not Hannon legally. Yeah. And so that's why I said the two worlds never cross.
Oh,
that's why it was so hard for people to find anything. I look like I dropped off the face of the earth because I changed my name legally for a completely different reason in 2005, I guess it was.
Yeah.
Or no, 95, I guess. So, but again, it's just fun things. And now it's like, and I've never really wanted, people always ask me, I never really wanted to be famous.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be able to, as I got older, it got worse and worse where I didn't want the fame. I'm a very private person. A lot of that could come from the incarceration years, a lot of post-traumatic whatever. I'm just really not that personable. I sound very approachable and happy, but sometimes people can say, that guy's the biggest prick I've ever seen. He's just, I'm just very standoffish sometimes.
Sure,
but I would love to be a Larry David. That would be my dream, is to that kind of wealth. I mean, what a fantastic show, but they all saw Seinfeld. They didn't know about Larry David unless you were in the industry.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That guy made a fortune, and he enjoyed creating, and I could still be behind the scenes writing, punching up scripts, or developing shows. That would be something I'd want to do, because, again, I don't feel, when I see myself on screen or in photos, that I just laugh and go, what a dork. I don't see what everybody else sees. How everybody says, when you look in the mirror, like I could look in the mirror and say, okay, yeah, it's not too bad. But when I see anything of a photo of me, it just repulses me. I'm just like, so it's going to be hard for me to do what I'm doing now, because, again, I'm 50. And like I said, we're 15 years too late. I know what my body used to look like. I don't have the muscle now. I may be lean and in shape at 4% body fat or whatever, but this is an action movie. I can't look like a Barbie doll with long hair and thin frame. For God's sake, people remember me as Samurai Cop, 235 pounds, muscular, so.
Well,
these are things that I normally, like I said, would never do an action movie because it's just not me. I'm more comedic. I'm more, darker characters. Very, So it's funny to do what I'm doing now, but I am going to enjoy it. Like I said, for me, it's more of a pleasure for my daughter because Greg was gracious enough to let her become an associate producer on this sequel, so that I can be glad to get her on a working SAG set and really see what goes on and learn. It's a learning experience for her. That, to me, brings more pleasure than me being in front of that camera and doing the sequel. Well, because you can learn all you want in film school in a book, but most kids of her age coming out that last year of film school, you're going to be a PA, you're going to be running around doing errands. I've got Courtney carte blanche on the set to go talk to the cinematographer, the lighting guy, sit in the production meeting. She's going to be there from start to finish with us on script development, casting. That's an amazing gift to give to somebody similar like me, hanging around sly on sets as an actor, seeing what it's really like to be on a working set. So that, to me, is what I think, and maybe I don't think that was her motive of putting me on YouTube, but I'm just glad that Greg was so gracious and his producing partners to just absolutely accommodate that and give her that opportunity to learn by doing and seeing.
Well, I think that's awesome, but you also have a lot of fans who are just excited that they get to see Samurai Cop 2, which
that's what I said. I think me being close to the look, and so is Mark, that I think they're really going to enjoy it. And we've had a lot of discussions, and everybody out there has their, and you probably have a point of view of what you think the sequel should be, and that's the hardest thing I think for these guys, Greg Hatanaka and his camp, is to really go, where are you going to go? Now, I know Greg has such a love and a passion for this movie. I mean, he even, you've seen what he's done. He went out and bought the rights. He went to court.
Oh, yeah.
Got the actual rights to own that film, and he's remastered them, and he's got back all of Amir's past movies. I mean, that costs a lot of money, and Greg has done a few films already. That Blue Dream he's produced, and I've seen some of his work, and he's really a fantastic director. And some of those budgets are like 100, 150,000. He's really done a great job. So with this movie being around, I don't know what we're going to end up at, 250, 300,000.
Yeah, well,
which is plenty for a movie like this. And then you throw in this Kickstarter at $50,000 for just extras. Like I said, to bump up the CGI to make my old 50-year-old ass look a little better, or whatever reason he's going to use it for. I just think it's going to be fun, but it's so hard because you cannot make fun of the first movie. It is what it is, and you can't try to copy it.
Yeah. Well, it's always difficult. I know that Birdemic, when they made a sequel, they did a really good job at sort of straddling that line where it was sort of bad on purpose, but it was still very funny, And it's
still some references probably to the original he did.
Yeah.
For the diehard fans, you can't copy, but like I said, certain dialogue that I use in the movie, obviously we could rehash in a different context.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke.
It's so funny, though. The first film, bad by accident. Second film, more than likely, bad on purpose. But, I mean, there's
yeah, I don't think we're going to do that on this. That's why I said from the treatments and the scripts that they're writing now, I think it's excellent. And, of course, I don't know if you've seen the cast. He has the gang of the girls kind of similar to Kill Bill, those ninja assassin girls. And he's assembled some very, very beautiful. Caden Frost, I think, is going to be an absolute crossover actress. She was in Blue Moon of Greg's, but she's been in the adult industry. She is so beautiful and stunning, and her natural ability in front of that camera as an actress, I'm just, blown over. I think she's going to be fantastic. Of course, then he's got all the other girls from, the Penthouse Pet Girls, and they've got a fan base which is unheard of too. So I see where Greg's looking at, hey, I'm going to bring in all the beautiful girls, and I'm bringing back you, and then we're putting the Samurai Cop in a different scenario, and this and that, add in more of it. It's just basically taking Mark and I, putting us 25 years here in the future in 2015, making a 90s style action movie. How most movies nowadays are so CGI'd and so over the top with special effects. And back in the 90s, like Die Hard was a fantastic script, and it was not really done. There wasn't a lot of CGI back then. I mean, there was the blowing up of the tower and so on, but that was that style back then. And nowadays it's just so computer generated. But I think that's what Greg really has a love for, to keep it that style of genre of movie.
Well, Greg's company, Cinema Epic, right? That's a fantastic company. I mean, I was just looking at their catalog, and it's a really impressive independent film distribution and production company. So that one's like I think it's an awesome company.
He's just done real well. I mean, he's got 3 movies now. They're just finishing production, and they're ready for. I mean, he just really turns them out. He's a fantastic guy, very honorable, very sweet, and just passionate about filmmaking. And I think, obviously for him, this is another way for him to showcase. This is probably one of his biggest movies, just because of what it became.
Right.
And it's really going to showcase some of his talent. And then you just see, like everybody else, you could build and build from here on. But the whole thing that we all reiterate when we're all together is we're making this movie for the fans. And that's why we really are very careful step by step in everything we do, that we do not disappoint or cheat them or try to, pull bullshit over them with, like we said, trying to mock the first one. That's just not going to happen.
Okay.
And I think they're going to be happy. Who knows how long we'll keep it under wraps? I mean, if they got Expendables 3 out there, and that's a huge movie.
Yeah.
I can't see at this level if something gets leaked out, but it doesn't matter. I just think people want to see the end result of what happened with Samurai Cop 2. What's the sequel all about?
Absolutely. Well, so for those of you listening, check out the Kickstarter for Samurai Cop 2, and we'll post a link to it. Is there any other place to check out, the Cinema Epic website or any other?
I think he is. And again, me being the dinosaur in technology, I know he do. If you Google just Cinema Epic, it does list his website. He's got a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Everybody's got all this. Matt's just got a email address and a cell phone number if you want to call him.
Okay.
Which to date nobody's really called, which is funny because everyone's like, "I can't believe you gave your number out." I said, "No one's going to call. What are they going to call?" But there's some people that have emailed me, and it's easier for me rather to answer their questions that I just say, "Hey, call me on my 702 line," and then we talk. And that's been a little bit more easier for me because, as you can see, I'm quite verbose, and for me to type all this shit out is going to take forever. So, but it's worked fine. And but some of these other guys have their the Kickstarter link, like we talked about, and I think we are actually. I don't know if you broadcast. Are you just New York based? Because I've heard you are the creme de la creme B-movie interviews in New York. I don't know if it's nationwide.
Well, thanks for saying that. It hits all over. Probably about 40% of our audience is in New York, but the other 60% is all over. Yeah,
because we're going to have that screening here, actually in LA. It's the first time that I've been in attendance at an LA screening. It's at the Cinefamily Theater here in Hollywood, over on Fairfax and Melrose, on the 28th of this month.
Oh,
I think it's at 10:30 at night. They have a website. I think if you go to cinefamily.com and you go to their calendar section, punch up Samurai Cop Night. It's a festival, and they asked us to attend and show the movie. But anybody, because a lot of people keep telling me, could you let us know when you're doing anything? So that's why I put up that Seattle info.
Yep.
So those fans, if they had DVDs or want to come down and get a photo, I'm so flattered to have anybody ask for anything. But I know that how they're all diehards. That would be a treat if I could get you to sign this and that. But a lot of those, I think you do have to call ahead. I know that Cinefamily is a old-style silent movie theater, and it probably seats 184 people. So in the past, when Mark's been at screenings here in L.A. when I was dead, he said that they were lined up around the block, and the thing sold out, and those were 500-600 seat midnight showings. So, again, if it reaches your L.A. base, if they want to come on down, that's another fun thing. And that's the first time I'm going to be in front of a live audience watching, so who knows how I'm going to be able to stomach that. But hopefully I can make it through.
Well, I certainly appreciate your work. But so, hey,
Thank you.
Matt, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I know it must be kind of weird, like, what do these guys want to talk to me for? But
no, I understand. I thank you, Thomas. I'm great. I'm thankful that we reached out. I reached out, and we were able to sit down and chat, because I know everybody kind of wants to put a book into if they had reviews before of it, and then there was the death. Now at least they had the final. We finally spoke to him, and words from the grave from Matthew.
Well, hey, the doors are always open here. So anytime you want to promote anything, just drop us a line. We'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely, will do.
And also anyone over at Cinema Epic and Greg and all those guys, if anyone's game, we'd love to have you, because we really dig what that company's doing. So
thank you. That's nice. I'll pass it along to him. We're having dinner tomorrow night, and he's kind of a reclusive, very artistic, shy guy, but we're trying to draw him out now. I'm bringing him to some of these premieres. I said, "You're going with me. If I'm going, you're coming with me." So he'll be out there. We'll get him on the circuit.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks very much.
All right, Tom. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Hell yeah, great interview.
So cool, Matt Hannon, for coming on. Matt Hannon was so cool for coming on our show.
That was fucking awesome.
We nerd out about stuff like that.
Hell yeah. It's the only crappy movie that I actually like, and so it's kind of amazing we had like both characters on.
It's so much more interesting to talk about unusual films versus like some mainstream film. Anywho, so yeah, can't wait. Hope we were talking about Matt had talked about the fidelity. Hopefully, the fidelity of that sounded a little better.
Well, he was on the moon, so it's tough to get the interview.
Oh, Mark Fraser, yeah. Would love to have Mark back on again. Maybe even Greg Katana, director of Samurai Cop 2 and owner of Cinema Epic Films. I think he owns it anyway. Awesome company. So, let's see. What else we got? Oh,
next this Friday coming up.
Yes,
we got another interview.
We got Greg Kistner, director of On the Lam, which was a feature film that came out maybe 3-4 years ago. He's got a new project called Vikings versus Zombies.
Yeah, that sounds sick.
And I'm involved with it, so a shameless horror plug. But no, this is his film, and it's Aaron Seiler's film. They're great dudes, independent. They're out of Ohio. They're trying to do this sort of Princess Bride meets Evil Dead thing. It's going to be awesome. So check her out. First of all, check out Samurai Cop 2 on Kickstarter. Donate to that. And then Friday, we'll talk about Vikings versus Zombies.
Yeah, we got all those links down there, too, so check those out.
Absolutia, as my brother Bruce says.
That's terrible.
Absolutia.
Absolutia.
Yeah, well, I think that'll about do it.
That wraps it up.
As far as you know. Yeah, well, Ken Powell will be back next week. He's off shooting a feature-length documentary.
Yeah, we decided not to do one of those cheesy call-in things.
Yeah. Or do our Ken Powell impression, which I'll do anyway. I'm Ken Powell!
Ken Powell!
Hey, girlfriend! It's me, Ken Powell!
Check you later.